Hi everyone, welcome to C++ Programming Workshop. Before we start our program today, I wish to extend a warm welcome to all participants. Please be noted that we will start the program at 2:10 p.m. while awaiting to other participants to be administrated into the workshop. Thank you for your understanding. Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining C++ Programming Workshop organized by IEM-UTHM. I am Nuradila from IEM-UTHM. I will be responsible for hosting the workshop today. As we are about to begin, I would like to kindly remind everyone to mute their microphone. Every participant is encouraged to turn on your camera to better interact with the speaker, moderator, and other participants. If you have any question during the event, feel free to type into the chat box. We will be answering your question during the Q&A session. Thank you. Before we begin our session, let me introduce our honorable speaker for today. Professional Technologist Dr. Khalid bin Isa. Dr. Khalid graduated from the University Technology Malaysia in 2001 with a Bachelor in Computer Science specializing in computer graphics. He then pursued a Master in Science in Computer System Engineering and Communication at University Putra Malaysia and graduated in 2005. In the year of 2014, he completed his PhD degree in Electrical and Electronic Engineering at University Science Malaysia, specializing in computational intelligence and underwater robotics. Currently, he is a senior lecturer in the Electronic Engineering Department, Faculty of Electrical and Electronic Engineering, University Tun Hussein On Malaysia. In addition, he served as a head of Department of Student Value and Volunteerism, Student Development Center UTHM. Previously, he was appointed as the head of Career Department of Student Center Development and then the head of Department of Student Career Advancement, Alumni and Career Advancement Center UTHM from September 2015 until August 2019. Our speaker was also the co-founder of the IEEE Oceanic Engineering Society Malaysia chapter. He was appointed as an executive committee from 2015 until 2016, vice chairman from 2017 until 2018, and chairman from 2019 until 2020. He has published more than 65 publications, including journals, conference proceedings, books, book chapter, and general articles. He has also received several awards such as Best Paper Awards, Gold Medals, and Special Innovation Awards. His research interests are underwater robotics, bio-inspired engineering, IoT, image processing control, and autonomous system. The list of achievement for Dr. Khalid goes on and on. If we will start to talking about his achievement, we might not be able to finish the workshop by the end of the day. Hence, without further ado, please welcome our speaker, professional technologist Dr. Khalid bin Isa.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Noradila, for the lovely introduction. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, my dear students. If YouTuber or influencer, they will say, hello, beautiful people of the world. So that's the way how the influencer greetings an event. So first of all, I would like to say thank you to IEM Student Society, IEM SS, for inviting me to be a speaker and sharing my knowledge about C++ programming. If I go back, I think that it was on April April this year. I was approached by One Way Key, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, approached me to invite me as a speaker for this workshop, and then by looking, continue by looking, and then so I was. When I received the email from One Way Key, I think like I was thinking that wow, they already planned ahead of the program because the program is on October. So I think, and then I don't have any excuse whether excuse to reject the invitation because my schedule is still empty. And I'm very grateful for the invitation. Thank you very much, IEMSS. But actually, supposedly yesterday I have to go to Batu Gajah, Ipoh, Perak, I have research and collaboration VC meeting in the KTMB train depot in Batu Gajah. But since I already committed and give my commitment to IEMSS for this workshop, then I could say I will later on. I will visit them later on. So, all right. So basically, okay. When I was received the topics of the workshop, C++ programming, and I was like thinking, wow. normally in formal education, it takes 2 semesters to learn about C++. Okay, and for this workshop, I was given around 3 hours. So it's quite a challenge. Okay, it's quite a challenge. And then I think how can I deliver? Okay, there's a lot of things that need to be shared regarding C++ programming. But today I think I have to use a short learning curve approach in order to deliver my knowledge sharing to all the students. Okay, so basically my name is Khalid bin Isa. Technologist doctor is not my name. It's just my title. Okay, you can call me Dr. Khalid. But nowadays some today's trend they like to shorten words or something, right? So some students call me Dr. K, some students call me Dr. KI. So but still the same person. Okay. Currently I'm a head of Department of Student Value and Volunteerism, Student Development Center, and I'm a senior lecturer in Cluster Computer Engineering (FKE). And I'm certified nurturing expert talent next career counselor by Telcorp. It was I received the certified 2018, and then I also certified Python for data science competency certificate by EDX and IBM. I'm on a journey to get my professional certification of data analytics and Python provided by IBM. All right, so that's just my introduction about myself. Okay, so how are you guys? Thank you for attending the workshop. And basically there are 5 parts in this workshop. And first I will talk about the software. Okay, software in general, and then we move into the C++ intro and C++ in engineering, and then we go deep, not deeper, but go a little bit deep in C++ programming. And there's some activities or practical session I will share with you by using the IDE, C++ IDE. And then I will share my projects, my current and my previous project that kind of related with C++ programming. Okay. All right. So the first part, software. Okay. So why software is important? And this is the big question. Why software is important? If you look around today's, if you look at the technology today, so almost all devices run with some software. Not really only electronic, but some mechanical devices also run with software. Okay, without software, the devices is useless. Okay, cannot be function. Okay, for example, automobile engine control system, okay, implementable medical devices, remote controls, office machines, all those devices. If you name it, there's some software part in the development of the device. Okay, you cannot run from the software. You have to learn about how the software is developed. And this is my course that I teach in FKE. Okay, I teach every semester about software engineering to my student in cluster computer engineering. So they will learn about how to develop software starting from the first phase until to the evolution phase, right? So why software-based solution? So if you want to be the richest person in the world, then you can go to the software-based solution, or you can be a software engineer or software developer. So if you look at the ranking of top 10 billionaires or the 10 richest men in the world. They are basically number 1, number 2, number 3. They are software person. Okay, from Amazon to Facebook to Microsoft, to iOS, Apple, and so on and so forth. So and the solution from software is basically is the most cost effective to implement functionality in software than hardware. It's cost effective, but it's very pricey. So the cost of developed software is much more higher than the cost of developed hardware. Okay, and software bugs easy to fix and give customer new software upgrade every cycle. You can upgrade your software if you develop a software. If you look at the technologies nowadays, mobile phone, computer, and so on and so forth. Even every 6 months, Samsung come up with a new phone. Okay, the device is quite similar. Okay, quite similar, but the software part they will upgrade it. Okay, in terms of UI or UX also, and whatever it takes with software. And however, it's extremely costly to repair. Customer sends in old device and manufacturers send replacement. So basically, it's quite it will take a lot of resources to repair a hardware. If the hardware is already absolute, then you need to buy a new hardware, right? But software can be upgraded every cycle. That's why if you look at software, every year there are a new version. Okay, even in 1 year there will be 3 versions at least. Okay, for example, MATLAB software. Okay, they will come up with a MATLAB 2021A. A means the alpha version, and then MATLAB 2021B, the beta version. Then MATLAB 2021, which is the full version or the final version. So, and that's why it's very important nowadays. And system increasingly complex and bugs is unavoidable. So in order to solve the complex engineering problems, the best way is by using software. You automate the solution, or you computerize the solution in order to come up with a problem solving for the complex problems. And then allows new features to be added later. So you can always upgrade. So this evolution, you can evolve upgrading the application, the software. Okay, and it implemented only absolute minimal functionality in hardware and do the rest in software. That's why sometimes if you look at this hardware, it's quite similar every year. Even they upgrade the design, it will be about the structure or the shape of the devices, right? But the functionality is still minimal, but in terms of the software function, it can be increased. Okay, and then software related jobs. So many more software jobs than hardware jobs. If you look at the current career market, so there's a lot of position regarding software. Okay, in terms of programming, system analysis, software developer, software engineers, so a lot of software jobs, right? Digital marketers is also involved with software, and there are a relatively small team of hardware designers produce platform like iPhone. Okay, not need a lot of people to design the hardware. Okay, but you need many programmers in order to develop an application or software. And thousands of companies develop application for platform and only implement directly in hardware when absolutely necessary. For example, for performance reasons. Okay, so I love to share in terms of the job markets in Malaysia. So if you look here, okay, as an engineering student, and if you compare with computer and IT, so this one is currently the current ranking of top 10 highest demand salary, okay, for fresh graduate. So if you look at here, ranking number two is computer and IT. Okay, computer and IT. Number one, basically the building construction. Okay, and engineering is at the number 5. So the job roles for engineers is engineering is chemical engineer, electric EE, environmental, industrial, mechanical, automotive. Okay, and for the computer, software engineer, network system engineer, IT executive business analysis. So this is the education that required for these job roles. Okay, so why I'm sharing this, because later on, after you finish your studies, and then you have to looking for jobs and so on and so forth, right? So you have to know what is your price, what is the basic salary for you to demand to the market, right? So if you compare engineering for fresh graduate is 2,560. Okay, compared with the computer or computing, so 1,757. This one is for 2021. So next year will be increased, but every year if the pattern is around 200 to 300 increment, right? So then you will know. Okay, when you go for interview, jobs, and the interviewer will ask you, the company will ask you, your potential employee will ask you what is your expected salary. So you have to know the expected salary in the market for that year. Alright. So but basically it's around something like that. But if you have a knowledge or skills in terms of software, okay, then you can go to this path. Okay, you can increase your price. Alright. Especially for the student in computer engineering cluster, so they have an edge to up their price. Okay, but the rest also, you also can up your price if you have the skill. Go attending a programming or software competency certificate and so on and so forth, in order to upgrade your skill. All right. So this is the salary progression. So if you compare as an engineer, basically you are more the salary is higher when you upgrade your position until the senior manager. Okay. So if compare when you have an experience, so basically once you hired as a senior manager, okay, so your salary is higher than the computer students or computer graduates. All right. So in terms of demand on job street, the market, the demand of jobs and position. Okay, if you look at here, the demand on job street, basically the computer jobs is high demand compared with engineering is around average. Okay, and the talent corp critical professional list, so system analyst, application programmer, database programmer, network engineer, system administrator, cybersecurity executive. So this is a critical professional list. Okay, and most companies they look for this kind of people, okay, to hire. And then for engineering is mechanical, chemical, industrial, civil, and engineering. So this one is common. Okay, so try to increase your price. So this is one of good initiative by IEM-SS to organize programming workshop and so on. Okay, so which language to learn? So today we'll learn about C++, but there are a lot of programming language that you can learn. Okay, C, which is you learn for EE, you will learn in the first year or second year, right? And then C++, Fortran, Java, MATLAB, C#, Objective-C, Python. So all these programming languages can be categorized into several types. Okay, if you look at there are 5 types of programming, and if you look at the diagram, there are 5 types. So the first one is procedural programming language. Okay, procedural programming languages. So this programming paradigm is derived from structured programming, specify a series of well-structured procedures and steps to compose a program. So it's a structural kind of programming language. So it provides a set of commands by segregating the program into variables, functions, statements, conditional operators, okay, and various program editors or IDE, integrated development environments, help users develop programming code using one or more programming languages. Alright. Some of them are Adobe, Dreamweaver, Eclipse, Microsoft Visual Studio, Basic, C, Java, Pascal, Fortran are example of procedural programming languages. Right? The second one is the functional programming languages. So a functional programming languages is a declarative programming paradigm where programs are constructed by applying and composing functions. So the core here is a function method, right? So the language emphasizes expression and declaration that on the execution of statement, right? So this is the structure of the functional programming language. And the foundation of functional programming is a lambda calculus, which uses conditional expression and recursion to perform the calculations. And it does not support iteration, meaning that it doesn't support looping or repetition methods. Like, for example, like loop statement, for statement, or conditional statement like if-else, right? So some of the most prominent functional programming language are Haskell, Standard ML, Scala, F#, what else? ML, Scheme, and many more, right? And the third type of programming is object-oriented programming language. Okay, so this programming paradigm is based on object. Okay, for example, it contains data in the form of fields and code in the form of procedure. So meaning that if you look at an object, for example, pen or computer or mouse or handphone, so that is object. And in object they have attributes and functions. So that we call it object oriented. Okay? So object oriented in short form is OOPs. Offer many features like abstraction, encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance, classes, and objects. Okay, and encapsulation is the main principle as it ensures secure code. So it also emphasizes code reusability with the concept of inheritance and polymorphism. So if you learn object-oriented, then you know what I'm talking about here. Okay. I think EE, computer classes engineering student, previous years they learn about OP. There's one course we call it as object-oriented programming, but nowadays I think it's already combined with data structure and algorithm. So I'm not sure whether they learn about OP in depth or not, right? So so most multi-paradigm languages are OP. OP language, for example, Java, C++, C#, Python, JavaScript. So these are the object-oriented programming language. Okay, so today we will learn about the object-oriented programming language since we learn about the C++. Number 4 is scripting programming language. So all scripting languages are programming languages that do not require compilation step and are rather interpreted. So the instructions are written for a runtime environment. Okay, and majorly used in web application. So system administration, games application, multimedia. So this kind of software that using a scripting programming language. Okay, it used to create plugins and extensions for existing application. Right? So some of the popular scripting language can be divided into several kind. For example, the server-side scripting languages, for example, JavaScript, PHP, Perl. Client-side scripting language, JavaScript, Ajax, jQuery, and then system administration, for example, Shell, Perl, Python, and for Linux interface, Bash. For web development, Ruby. So these are the languages that you can categorize as the scripting programming language. And the number 5, okay, types of programming is logic programming. So this one is based on formal logic. Okay. It then does not tell the machine how to do something, but employs restriction on what it must consider doing. For example, the example language here is a prolog, answer set programming or ASEP, and data log. Okay, so these are the major logic programming languages. Okay, and then from this kind of type of programming, which one is the best? What are the top 10 best programming language that you need to learn? Okay, so what do you think? What is the best programming language that you should learn nowadays, currently, 2021?
I think Python lah, Doktor.
Okay. Python. Most of them. Okay. Yes. Number one is Python. Okay. Number one is Python. So these are the best programming languages that you can learn nowadays. Okay. This one is based on the demand in the industry. So number one is Python. Undoubtedly tops the list. So it is widely accepted as the best programming language to learn first. Okay. Because why? Python is fast, easy to use, easy to deploy. Okay. And it widely used to develop a scalable web application. Okay. For example, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, SurveyMonkey, they are all built in Python. Okay. So Python provides excellent library support and has a large developer community. Okay, you can share your coding with the Python community, and you get the improvement by others members, or you can get the source code from others members in the community. It's open source. Everyone is sharing their bits and sharing their coding, right? So the programming language provide a great starting point for beginners. Right? Python is a great starting point for beginners. Talking about those who are looking for a better job. Okay, talking about those who are looking for the better job, you should definitely learn Python as soon as possible. So a lot of startups are using Python as their primary back-end stack. And in software, we have there are two types of category kind, back end and front end. So front end involve with the user interface and user experience. Back end meaning that you involve with all the engine part, okay, the backbone of the software or the application. So this open up to huge opportunity for full stack Python developers. If you learn about back end, okay, machine learning, AI, okay, you can using Python. So if you want to develop project involved with artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, so the best programming language and easy to use is Python. Number two is Java. So Java is another popular choice in large organization, and it has remained so for decades. Widely used for building enterprise scale web application. So Java is known to be extremely stable, and so many large enterprise have adopted Java in their software development or in their organization system. So if you are looking for a development-based job at large organization, so Java is the language that you should learn. Okay, so Java is also widely used in Android application development. Almost any business today needs an Android application, owing to the fact that there are billions of Android users today. So this open up a huge opportunity for you, for Java developers, given the fact that Google has created an excellent Java-based Android development framework for it, which is Android Studio. Okay. And number three is C++. We will talk about this later. And now we skip to number 4, JavaScript. So JavaScript is the front end. Okay, front end programming language, meaning that involved with the user interface. So JavaScript is widely used to design interactive front end application. For instance, when you click on a button which open up a pop-up, the logic is implemented via JavaScript. And many organizations, particularly the startup, use Node.js or not JavaScript, okay, which is JavaScript-based runtime environment. So Node.js let developers use JavaScript for server-side scripting, running scripts server-side to produce dynamic web page, okay, content before the page is sent to the user's web browser. Hence now with JS or JavaScript, you can use a single programming language for server-side and client-side script. So if you're looking for the cool tech job at your favorite startup, favorite company, so you should seriously consider learning JavaScript. Number 5 is Golang or Go programming language. This one is built by Google. So Go provides excellent support for multi-threading. So it's being used a lot by a lot of companies that really heavily on distributed system. Okay, so Go is widely used in startup in Silicon Valley. Those who wish to join the Silicon Valley in US, or maybe you want to join the Silicon Valley in Malaysia, which is Cyberjaya startup, and then maybe you should learn about the Golang. Number 6 is R. R programming is one of the most commonly used programming language for data analysis and machine learning. Okay, so R provides an excellent framework and built-in libraries to develop powerful machine learning algorithm. Okay, meaning that you also, if you want to, you have an option whether you can use Python or you can use R, but R is specifically for data analytics. Okay, so it's used for general statistical computing as well as graphics. So many companies also have adopted for R. For example, when they want to come up with a new product, they will do the data analytics. They get the data from the customer in the market, and then they analyze the data. And from the data, they can interpret and conclude what kind of new product that the customer wants. So in order to analyze the data, they're using R. Okay. So those for you who want to join an analytics team for a large company, so definitely you have to learn R. Swift, number 7, is a programming language that's used to develop iOS application. So if you have an Apple iPhone, so most of the application developed by Swift. Okay. So if you prefer, if you like to work with Apple, then you should consider learning Swift. Number 8 is PHP. So this one is the most popular backend programming language. But currently it's facing tough competition from Python and JavaScript. Okay, but the market still needs a large number of PHP developers. So for those who wish to join a reasonably well-established old organization as a back-end developer, should aim to learn PHP programming. Number 9 is C#. This one is a general-purpose programming language developed by Microsoft, widely used for back-end programming, building games using Unity, okay, and then building Windows mobile phone apps and a lot of other use cases. And the last one, this one is mostly related to the student, MATLAB. MATLAB is a statistical analysis tool that used in various industries for data analytics. Okay, MATLAB is mostly used in computer vision and in image processing industry as well. Okay, so these are 10 best programming languages that you can consider to learn in order to improve your skills. All right. So why learn C++? Okay. So maybe IEM can answer this one. why you approach me to give sharing my knowledge about C++. Okay, basically, and this is truly C or C++ is like it's like the bread and butter of programming. Okay, so almost all low-level systems such as operating system OS, file system, okay, are written in C or C++. So if you wish to be a system level programmer, okay, C is the language you should learn. Okay, C++ is also widely used by competitive programmers owing to the fact that it is extremely fast and stable. Okay, and C++ also provides something called STL, Standard Template Library. So STL is a pool of ready-to-use libraries for various data structures, arithmetic operation, and algorithm. So the library support and speed of the language make it a popular choice in the high-frequency trading community as well. So that's why the C++ is still considered as one of the best programming language. So other than what I have stated in the slide. Okay. And if you look at the last point, many other popular languages inspired by C++. And don't be surprised, most of the language that listed in the top 10 best programming language is based on the C++. Actually. Okay. So now we move on to the second part, which is the C++ introduction. So this one can be faster. Okay. So C++ developed in 1979 by Jan Stroutup at the Bell Telephone Laboratories. It is a OOP or object-oriented programming language, which follow concepts like inheritance, encapsulation, abstraction, and polymorphism. We as a human being also considered as OOP. We inherit a certain attribute from our parents. Okay, so it's inheritance concept. All right. And then we also encapsulate because we are human beings. So we have same attributes with other people. Okay. So this is the concept of encapsulation. So the brief history of C++. So it started starting by Simula 1, okay, in 1962, and then Simula 67, okay, developed as the first object-oriented language. And 1973, C language was invented by Dennis Ritchie at Bell Labs. Okay, 72, Dennis Ritchie and Ken Thompson rewrite the Unix OS in C. So combine it together. Okay, Jan Stroutup combined it together, combine Simula and C, and begin to develop C with classes. So it started with C with classes, then it renamed to C++. And the first commercial C++ compiler established in 1985, and C++ 2.0 standard release, major update in 2011. So they name it as a C++ 11, okay? And then another update, but it's a minor update. It was a minor update 2014, which is C++ 14 release. So from Simula C, jadilah C++. Okay. And when we talk about object-oriented programming, so basically we seek to define a program in terms of the things in the problem. For example, files, molecules, building, cars, people. So these are objects, okay? And what they need and what they can do. So this is an example of object-oriented diagram. So we have class gas molecule. In class gas molecule, we have data and method. So data means is the attributes of the gas molecule. Okay, and method here is a function. So in pseudocode, when you write up or design the pseudocode, the algorithm, okay, so this is how the way you write the pseudocode, or maybe you can interpret by using flowchart, right? So this object, okay, object is gas molecule. So instances of a class. So if you look at this coding, If you look at this pseudocode, gas molecule CH4 is defined as gas molecule. CO2 is defined as gas molecule as well. Okay, so this is the class. Class. And then spectrum here is the function. Initial with CH4.IR. So once when you find coding and you find something like this, CH4.C, meaning that this is object-oriented programming. Okay, which is there is a class of object. Okay, and IR here is a method. So if you look here, methods IR with number start and with number end. So start and start from 1,000 and 3,500. So and then name is the attribute. Okay, data, molecule weight, molecule structure, common name, etc. So and then this is the attribute. We name it CO2 with a common name. So this is very easy example of object-oriented. So any object, they will have a class name, and then they will have the attributes and methods or function. So this is another example. OP define classes to represent these things. Okay, so classes can contain data and method, internal function. So basically in object of car and an object of car. So private data and method it's involved with the engine, the drivetrain, the internal function. And then class control access to internal data. A public interface is used by external code. So steering is considered as the public interface. Maybe any people or any other classes can, or any other object can interact with the public interface. Okay, so this is highly effective way of modeling real world problems inside a computer program. So what are the features of C++? Okay, so these are the features. Okay, these are the features. So start with simple, simple, portable, powerful, rich library, platform dependent, object oriented, case sensitive. So the maybe the drawback of C++ is quite sensitive in terms of the syntax. It's a compiler based, a syntax based language, use of pointers, memory management. So these are the features that you need to know about C++. And then the next question, when to choose C++? Okay, when to choose C++? Despite many competitors, has remained popular. C++ has remained popular for 30 years. It's already a long time ago. Okay, it's still listed as a top 3 best computer program language. Okay, and it still will continue to be so in the future. So why? Because complex problems and programs can be effectively implemented by using C++. You can solve complex problem in engineering or in other field by using C++. And OOP works in the real world. So if you look at your environment, your location right now, so you can see many objects. So each object can be programmed, by using C++. And no other language quite matches C++ combination of performance, expressiveness, and ability to handle complex programs. So this is why C++ still one of the best. Okay, so choose C++ when program performance matters. So meaning that if you want to dealing with large amounts of data, multiple CPUs and complex algorithm, so then you can use C++ because C++ is fast and stable and secure. So programmer productivity is less important. So if choose C++ when programmer productivity is less important. It is faster to produce working code in Python. Yes, definitely. Easy to coding Python. It's not sensitive like C++. Okay. But so if the productivity of a programmer is less important, then why not choose C++? Okay. Otherwise, you can use Python, R, MATLAB, or other scripting language. languages. Okay, and then the programming language itself can help organize your code. Not everything is a vector or matrix like that. Okay, so even though if you are using MATLAB, most of the time engineering students they will use a Simulink, okay, a diagram kind of language. Okay, so drag a Simulink blocks and combine it together and then run. But if you have a skill in programming language, there is a lot of advantage. You can start your M file coding by using M file. No need to depend on the Simulink. So and then access to libraries that will help you with your problem. For example, NVIDIA CUDA Trust Library for GPU. Okay, you can access CUDA and NVIDIA GPU. So and any other kind of GPU. Okay, so you can easily integrate with the GPU by using C++. So pros and cons of learning C++. Pros, there are many libraries, very enormous number of free libraries, flexibility for programmers. Okay, in terms of similarity coding, there's a lot of example or open source coding in C++ and widely supported by the world, by the industry. And portability, you can integrate C++ with other language, for example MATLAB. Even you can integrate with Arduino, ARM microcontroller, and so on and so forth. And it's compile based. Before you run it, you can compile your coding and to look whether there is a bug or not in your code. Strong type system, high performance. So these are the pros of learning C++. And the cons, a very large language. This workshop won't even attempt to describe all of it. Okay, because this is only three hours workshop. Okay, and I make no claim to know the entire language. Okay, so another cons includes all the subtleties of C and its own, and complexity is quite high. So if you don't understand the syntax and the built-in library or how to create your own library or your own function, so it's quite difficult. In terms of readability, also quite difficult for those who did not understand the syntax and the concept of C++, and generally requires careful attention to detail. Okay, because C++ definitely very, very super sensitive. Okay. Even small letter and capital letter is the different things. Okay, for the same words. Alright. So for part 3, C++ in engineering. Okay. What makes C++ useful for engineers? Basically, you can use C++ for communication or data retrieval from small integrated circuit to a big motor. Okay. And then you also can use C++ to analyze a large volume of data, to create programs that can quickly analyze the data, to simulate problems, to test various parts of a PCB. Okay, design your algorithm and run automated test cycle and much more. So these are some of the usefulness of C++ for engineers. And what type of engineers can use C++? Signal processing engineer. Okay, where the signal processing generally they will module or simulate digital signal processing algorithm, and system designers use either C or third-party tool software. And while it is not cost-effective to use the latest, C also has its shortcomings. So C++, on the other hand, can be used to create efficient DSP building object that can be reused. It can be reused whenever needed. Plus, it is easy to use C++ for manipulating bit accurate simulation. Okay, so particularly when compared to the user experience of third-party tools such as MATLAB. Another kind of engineer is microelectronics. Okay, it requires to use programming language either to develop application or to understand the characteristic of microcontrollers, microprocessors, or other integrated circuit modules. So these days, a lot of engineers prefer C++ over C. as the former can be used alongside Microsoft Visual Studio. Alright, which support integration with version control system. Another thing also is it is quite easy to run module or unit tests or to debug the hardware with Visual Studio, right? And for computer engineering, build middleware. So basically C++ is a system or low-level language with build middleware. Okay, it has a much more relevance in the hardware industry as it is one of the highest used language in developing software that power embedded system electronics. Okay, and mechanical mechatronics and robotics to build automation and control application for manufacturing and robot industry, and electrical power engineering to model simulate power system algorithm and application as well. Okay, so this is actually what I listed. Okay, but there is many kind of engineers can use C++ in order to do some data analytics or do some system modeling or anything. Okay, so C++ uses for engineering application, uses for design OS, design database, design new language. Okay, and then develop medical application, develop embedded system, also can be used for games, web browsers, enterprise software, computation platform, desktop application, and compilers. So there's a lot of benefits by using C++. You can develop many things. Okay, so why engineers should learn C++? So basically, it increases engineers' chances to have high power jobs. Okay, so learning C++ will provide the following benefits, just like I'm listed in the slide. Okay, so it improves productivity. Learning C++ will enable engineers to work dramatically faster by using programs to automate tedious tasks and multiple career options. Compared to those without it, engineers with C++ experience have a much higher chance of becoming an embedded software developer. And in plenty of industry, including automotive, aerospace, IT, energy, and so on and so forth, and of course electronics, right? And another thing, because C++ is a root of other programming language, for example Java. Okay, so Java, the core of Java virtual machine, JVM hotspot is implemented in C++. Okay, C#, almost a replica of Java from Microsoft, has its origin traced back to C++, since Java itself was inspired by C++. Okay, and then Python, the Python interpreter is implemented in C. JavaScript, most popular JavaScript engine V8 is implemented in C++. libuf, Unicorn Value Structure Library. Okay, it's the Unicorn Value Structure Library primarily designed for only not JavaScript, give not JavaScript powerful I/O capability. So this library was built in with C and C++. And the not JavaScript, the runtime environment used in developing web server using JavaScript built in C++, and this was the reason behind its very high performance and low level access. So there's a lot of benefit when you learn C++ when you expert or have some competency in C++ programming. Okay. All right. So far, any question? We have another 2 hours, but I think can cover the 2 hours for the next part. Do you have any question? You can ask now if you want to interrupt. Otherwise, I'm the only one talking here. So far, no. Hey, Tanisha. Hi. Tanisha. All right. Hi, how are you? So now we move on to the C++ programming. So after you already know why, that is the important. Before you learn something, you have to know. You have to know why. Some students they say, what we learn in university is not useful in our working in our career. No, okay. It's determine your career. Okay? It determines your career. It determines your interest. So that's why you need to know why. Okay, and all those basic questions lah. What, why, how. Okay. So now we move on to the C++ programming. So basically today, I will show you, since it's a C++ workshop, it's not just only talk until 5:30. So we'll do something. Okay, I'm not sure whether you already know this or not, but I assume that maybe you will learn something from this. So in this workshop, we will use the code blocks, CB, Integrated IDE, okay, Integrated Development Environment, for writing and compiling C++. Okay, so basically CB or code blocks is a cross-platform supported on Mac or operating system, Linux and Windows. So all those major operating systems support the code blocks. Okay, so there is no problem whether you use Apple or you use Windows and so forth. And it's oriented towards C, C++, and Fortran supports others such as Python as well. In order, since we already have around 3 hours, and so that's why I said before that, so I have to think about how to shorten or implement. I have to implement the short learning curve. So compare with the other IDEs such as Eclipse or Visual Studio Code. So you can install Visual Studio Code in your PC, as well as Eclipse. But there's it depends. If you prefer to have the editor in your PC, then you can install code blocks. If you think that you just want to install the UI of programming tools, and everything is put inside, everything else is in the cloud, then you can use that. You can install the VS, Visual Studio Code. Okay. So code blocks has automatic code building system. It's very easy to use. So you can concentrate on C++ syntax. So you can convert build system file to make and mix file. So you are not tied to CB. So then go to the CB homepage. Okay, www.codeblocks.org. Okay, let's see. Okay. So this is the code blocks website. Okay. So in order you can download, you go to the download menu here, okay, at the left side. Okay. So there's a lot of options. Download the binary list, download the source code, retrieve source code from SVN. Okay, you just go straight away, download the binary release. Okay, and there is a release for Windows XP, Vista 7, 8, 10, 11 still not yet available. Okay, and then Linux 30 and 64 bits, Microsoft operating system. Okay, so it depends on your PC, your operating system of your PC. So then you can choose. Okay, for example, for myself is Windows 10. Okay, so I click on Windows. So basically, go to the Windows list file, download file. Right. So just the best way is you download the code blocks version 23 setup non-admin execution. Non-admin execute. So you can download from Force Hub or you can download from sourceforge.net. So either way, okay. So if you select the code blocks 20 setup.exe non-admin, if you go the first file, meaning that it will includes all the plugins. Okay, for non-admin, provide the convenience to user do not have administrator rights. So the best way, you just create the first file, you go to the first hub of SoundForge. So in the way, and then you can download it, cannot reach. Alright. So if SoundForge, what happened? Something wrong. So let's say for the rest is at the below. Okay, for the Linux and then the Microsoft OS is at the below. Okay, so this is the way how you download. Maybe you can later on you can download by yourself, right? So what I want to share with you, if you have already downloaded it, okay, you will install the code blocks. Okay, and the code blocks will appear in your desktop lah. So basically this is the UI of code blocks, right? Okay. Okay, so after you download the code blocks, okay, after you download it, okay, so basically what is the advantage here? So IDE advantage, integrated development environment advantage is it's easy to handle your build process. Okay, they will handle the build process for you. And then the syntax highlighted and live error detection, quite similar with the Visual Studio. Okay, and code completion, fill in as you type. So they will give suggestion when you type the syntax, they will give the suggestion. And creation of files via templates. Okay, built-in debugging, code refactoring. Refactoring means they will reduce the redundancy of your coding. Okay, for example, change a variable name everywhere in your coding. So once you change one variable, then we change on the rest of the coding. So it's refactoring. And higher productivity. So available IDE code blocks, and then we also have Genie. You can use Genie, but this one is minimalist IDE, simple to use. Or maybe you prefer Eclipse. So a highly configurable, adaptable IDE, very powerful, but with a long learning curve lah. It's quite difficult to learn. Spider, Python only. This one is you can install by install the Anaconda, then we get Spider, Jupyter, and so on and so forth. And then Xcode for Mac OS, Visual Studio for Windows, and that means this one is cross-platform between C++ and Java. Okay, so this is the way you open you're opening the CB lah. So the first time it is open, code blocks will search for compilers you can use. Okay. I already installed, so if I want to show this, it's not, I need to uninstall my code blocks. Okay, but the first time, so when you find this dialog box, what you need to do, you just select the GNU CC compiler. Okay, GNU GCC compiler. So this one is the compiler types for the in the code blocks. Okay, and then click OK. Okay, CC to is cross compiler. So then opening CB and creating a C++ project. So the first step here, in order to create your project, so what you have to do, you just go to the menu, okay, or you can create a new project here. You go to the file menu, new, okay, select project, or you can create a new project in the display, okay, in the editor. So for example, once you click create new project, okay, then how do you want to create? So the next step is you choose the console category. Okay, there are a lot of categories. There's console, Fortran, D language, okay, 2D or 3D graphics, native, GUI, Java, code blocks, embedded system. Okay, you just go to console. So this one is very basic. Okay, and then select console application. Okay, once you select console application, you click go. Okay, then you will get this dialogs window, and then just click next out. Maybe if you don't want to see this, and just check the skip this page next time. Okay, click next. So then what you have to do, you have to select the C++ language. Okay, if you want to use C, so select C. But since this is C++, so we choose C++ here. Okay, C++. So then next, right? So the next step is you have to name your project. Okay, name your project. For example, so let for the folder to create project in, this one is already defined by the CB. Yeah. Okay? So you just need to name your project title. So for example, the basic one, hello world, right? So everything will be filled in by the code blocks. Okay, and then the next step is, okay, choose the compiler, and then for this tutorial you choose the GNU cross compiler. Okay, cross compiler as the compiler, GNU GCC compiler. So the rest is just, and then you just finish, click finish. Okay, automatically in the IDE, the interface here, you see you already have the project Hello World. Okay, so meaning that there is no problem. So what you have to do now, okay, you just in order to enable the C++ version 11, 11 standard, C++ 11, okay, so you just right click, and then choose build option. Okay, so make sure there is no, okay, you must check off the C++ option if your code blocks already, if your code block check here, right, check here, you need to check off. Okay, make sure you check it off. So, and then after you check on, there is no check, the rest just no need to do some, just ignore. Okay, only focus on the C++ 11 ISO. Okay, ISO language standard. Okay, make sure it check off, check it off, and then click OK. Okay, so you can do this every time you create your project in code blocks. So the next step, so your project is now created. Click on the sources on the left column. So you click here, you can see the main.cpp already there. So double click. Okay, once you double click, so they already have the template coding for Hello World. Okay, it's already have the coding for Hello World here. So what you need to do, if you want to run this, you just click on the compile and build and run icon at the top, okay, below the main here. Okay, so click the build and run icon in the toolbar, or press F9 to compile and run the program. Okay, so when you run it, so there will be the output window. So there is a Hello World output there. Okay, it's very simple. This one is basic. Any kind of language, the first testing coding is the Hello World coding. Okay, and then press any key to continue. So now you already have the first Hello World code. So what this Hello World code is produce is the output. So this is what you call it as a console window. Okay, and then if you look at the bottom of the coding, so you can see the build and compile message. Okay, you scroll up, so you can see that. So this is the debug and compile message. There is no error. Okay, so this is what the meaning of your result. So behind the scene, what happened behind the scene of this simple starting of C++ program? So what happened here? The compiler, the C++ compiler will prepare the header file of the library. So if you look at the coding, so we include the IO stream, input output stream. So this is the library that we use in order to read and input, and as well as display and output. Okay, you need to include this one. So this one is basic input output stream. So compiler will call the header file for this library IO stream. Okay, or maybe you have your own header file. So if you want to include it, you can include your header file, but you need to create first. And then also command, you will see the main C++ file. This one is a .cpp file. So C++ processor will expand the source code file. Okay, and this one is not normally visible, and then the G++ will look at the possible output of the coding. And then what happened next is the compiler will compile the coding. Okay, and after it compiled, it will produce the assembler code file. Okay, and this one is also not visible. And then the G++ see the output. Okay, and then pass to the assembler. And assembler will create the object code. Okay, main.o. O stands for object. And then go to the linker. So linker will link with the C++ library files that's you included in already included in the coding. Okay, so link to the C++ library files or system library files, and then execute and the main, and then we will get the output. So this is what happened behind it, something that we can see, right? So the world, hello world explained. So if you look here, if you look at the coding, the very simple coding, basically in C++, you need, this is the skeleton of your program. Okay, the first line here is the pre-processing directive. Okay, which means that you include all the library that you want to use in your coding. Okay, and then followed by the using namespace standard here. So this one is basically the declaration of your object. Okay, the built-in object. So, and there is a main routine, main function at start of every C++ program. Okay, so it returns an integer. If you look here, integer main. Okay, integer main, and then braces here, and then the body of the program. Okay, integer main means that this main function will receive an integer value. So that's why at the bottom of the body we write the return 0. Okay, we write the return 0. If you don't want to write the return 0, you want to make it shorter, you can delete return 0, but you have to change integer to void. Okay, so when you change to void, there is no return 0. Okay, meaning that main function is not receive any value. So you have to delete this one. Right. So statement that returns an integer value to the operating system after completion. So 0 means no error. Okay. So like I said before, so this one loads a header file containing function and class definition, and then the namespace call for namespaces. And namespaces are used to separate section of code for programmer convenience. So as well as to save time, typing all the unnecessary repetitive syntax. Okay, so if you don't want to write the using namespace standard, okay, so every time you want to call the standard input output command to read and to display and to read an input and to display an output, so you have to write this coding. Okay, so you have to call the standard namespace because the cout is in the namespace library. So cout is the object that writes the standard output device. For example, console window is part of the C++ standard library. So without the using namespace standard line, this would have been called as std::cout. Okay, so it defined as the IO stream header file. So that's why it does declare the standard library once, and then the rest you just run the syntax. Okay, the basic syntax. All right. So slight change. So let's put some message into some variable of type string. So here what we do, let's say we add the coding. Okay? So we change it here, and we'll see what happened. Okay, so if you look, say, if you typing the syntax, for example here, you want to type string. Okay, so code blocks already suggested, there is string buffer, and then string stream. So you just type string, so you will automatically complete the text. Okay, hello, right? And please make sure in C semicolon is important at the end of the command. Okay, not everything. So if you look here, there is no semicolon for the preprocessor directive, but for the standard library, so you put semicolon at the end. For the main function, there is no semicolon. Okay, but inside the body of the main function, every command you have to put the semicolon. Right? And then string will message. Okay, what we do, we concatenate, we combine the string, okay, to become one string. So that's why we declare string message equal to hello plus namespace plus world. And we just output by using command cout. And then the NDL is stand for end of line. So this one is end of line, so meaning that this is the end of the after once the compiler or the linker and of the C++, okay, run the coding, so they will know, okay, they will print or display the message, and then they will go to the next line. Okay, so that's why this is end of line command here. Inform the C++ compiler to move to the next line. Okay, and then here is we declare an array. Okay, the value for message array h. Okay, you define message array allocation for the first element is H, okay, for message, and then C out. Again, no output of message here, and then continue. Okay, so now you can try to build and run the coding. So hello world. One is capital H, another one is small letter h, because we changed from capital to small letter. So if you look here, okay, what happened at the back of the C++ when we declare hello as a string? String means words, right? It's not character. It's not one character. It's a string. It's a word. So we define string hello as a hello, HELLO, and then we define string world as world, and then we combine it together, string message hello plus. So in string we can concatenate by combining using a plus symbol. Okay, so hello plus, so we combine hello these two variables, hello and world, as a one word, and we define it as a message MSG. So we display MSG, and then later on after that we change the first element of MSG. The first element of MSG, which is the first element here is H. Okay, we change it from H capital letter to small letter H. So that's why we get the output is small letter. So this is the concept. Hopefully you can grab the idea here, the essence. So very simple. Just slightly change, and then the next one is I think I have to change it to small. Okay, basic syntax. So in C++, syntax is very similar to C, Java, or C#. It's very similar with our natural language, Bahasa Melayu, Mandarin, English. So you have to know in natural language, you have to know the grammars and vocabulary. So basically, syntax is about that, about grammars and vocabs. So once you understand the syntax, then I think you can write your program. Okay, so here's a few things up from front end. We'll cover more as we go along. So curly braces are used to denote a code block. So if you look here, so this one is a code block because it's inside the curly braces. Okay, and statements end with a semicolon. Okay, so if you look at every command here is end with semicolon. What happens if you miss the semicolon? So when you run, okay, there will be error. So you can check the error at the build message here at the bottom. So it stated that error expected comma or semicolon before string. Okay, and then you go line 9, line 8. 8 here is number of line 8. So you can see already pointed out at line 8. So when you don't see the line 8, you have to look at the line before it. Okay, if you look at line 8, you see everything is there. The semicolon is there. But if you look before the line, then you will notice that you miss the semicolon. So that's why C++ is very sensitive. Okay, it's very sensitive. Another example. When you change here the diagram. Okay, so you change the variable from small h to capital H, but for the string MSG, you use hello and world, right? So what will happen? There will be another error. See, line 9, error, hello was not declared in this scope. Okay, so meaning that C++ detect hello with capital letter and hello with small letter is a different variable. So you can change either one, whether you can change the variable in line 9 or you can change the variables in line 7. Okay, then you run, so it will be okay. Right, so this is the syntax. So and then every when as a programmer, the most important, one of the most important features that you need to provide in your coding is a comments. So comment are marked for a single line with double slash, and for multi-line with a pair of slash asterisk and then close with asterisk slash. Okay, so comments is important because let's say when you develop a source coding and then you don't put a comment for your code, and then later on you have you're facing some problems or want to do troubleshooting, you have to look at all lines. Okay, but if you have comments, it's easier for you to know which line that you need to troubleshoot. And other people also can understand your coding. Okay, your partner, your pair programmers, okay, understand what you write in your code. That's why comments is important. And then variables can be declared anytime in the code block. You also can declare variables outside the main function. Okay, meaning that the variable is a public variable. All right. So function section of code are called from other code. The function always have return argument type. Okay, function name and then a list of arguments. For example, in the slide, if you look at the slide, integer main. Okay, integer main, my function integer x, return x. So when there is integer at the front of your function name, meaning that you have to put the return statement before you close your function. Okay, but if you put void in front of your main function, so no need to put a return statement. Okay, because your function did not receive any value. So variable are declared with a type on names. So every time you want to declare a variable, you have to declare with the data type. So for example, let's say your data is a round number or integer. So you declare, for example, x is 100. So you declare x as integer, y as float. Meaning if you have the y value as a floating point number, right? So this is the way you declare your variables. Another operators that important in that mostly used in programs, computer C++ program is the arithmetic, logical, and comparison operators. So this one mostly used for the selection and repetition statements. Okay. So built-in primitive or string data type. Primitive or string means these types are not objects. Okay, so here are the most commonly used types, and the exact bit range here are platform and compiler dependent. So typically usage with PC, Macs, Linux, so they use these values. Variation from this table are found in specialized application like embedded system processor. So if your data type is char, meaning that you have unsigned char, the name, this is the type of variable unsigned. There's no sign, there's no plus minus, and then the value is about 8-bit integer. It cannot be more than 8-bit. If you want more than 8-bit, meaning that you have to name it as string. Okay, and then short, integer, long. So this one is involved with the round number. Okay, short in unsigned short, 6-bit integer, 16-bit integer. Int, integer, unsigned integer, plus no plus minus, so it's 2-bit. If you want more than the 2-bit, you have to declare it as a long number, long, and the data type is long, 64-bit. And then bool is boolean, they only have one value, 0 or 1, which is true or false. And the floating point, there's float, double, and long double. Yeah, the differences are the value, bit value, 32 bit, 64 bit, and 128 bit floating. So if you involve with big floating number, so it's convenient for you to declare as a long number. For long is for integer number, which is maximum is 128 bits. So when as a programmer, so you have to use appropriately the data type. Don't just waste the memory location. Let's say you just want to, your data is only involved is 16-bit integer, so don't declare as a long. So meaning that you wasted the rest of the memory location that declared by the C++ compiler. So need to be sure of integer sizes. So in the same spirit as using integer, find equal to 8 type notation in Fortran. So there are type definition that specify exactly the bits used. So this will added in C++ 11. So this can be useful if you are planning to port code across CPU architecture, for example, Intel 64 to 32-bit ARM on embedded board. So you can use this kind of specification. Okay. So a full list of definition you can see this website. So you also can learn about C++ from this c++.com. Okay. So here there is a lot of C libraries. So you can see what is the meaning behind all these libraries. So you can just click and then there is the description, okay, of the libraries, or maybe you can learn about multi-threading, okay, or the function in the C++. Otherwise, or maybe you want to learn about C++ by yourself, you can go to the tutorial. Okay, so learn from basic. So basic of C++, program structure, compound data, classes, so until the until the polymorphism. So basically it's focused on the object-oriented, okay, object-oriented tutorial. So this is quite convenient references that you can use for learning C++ and look up all the as a reference. Okay. So and then typecasting. So C++ is strongly typed. It will auto convert a variable of one type to another in a limited fashion. So if it will not change the value. For example, short meaning x is an integer, short equal to 1, integer y equal to x. Then you compound or you define y as z. So this one is not okay. And because y is integer, which is the big number is greater than short. Okay, so it's lower to greater is okay, but if you backward, that's not okay. And then conversion that don't change value, increasing precision, floating to double or integer to floating point, or at least the same position. Okay, tempat perubahan yang sama. So C++ allows style typecasting with the syntax new type expression. So for example, you want to convert, typecasting is conversion. Double x equal to 1.0, so you want to convert x into integer, so you can use this C style typecasting. Integer y equal in bracket the data type and then the variables that you want to convert. Okay. And then same goes with the float z. You want to convert the integer value into floating number. So in addition to this C++, C++ offer 4 different variations in C++ style. So you can see at the next slide. Okay. So static cast new type expression. So this is exactly equivalent to the C style cast. Okay. Okay. And you can do casting that reduces precision. You can reduce the number of bit. You can reduce from double to float. So if you want to reduce the number of bit value, then you can use this style of C style as casting. Okay. And then dynamic cast, new type expression. This one is special version where typical casting is performed at runtime, only works on reference or pointer. So if you are familiar with pointer methods, okay, you can use the dynamic cast syntax here. And then constant cast, variable labeled as constant. Const is stand for constant, so can have their value change. So const lets programmer remove or add constant to reference type variable. Okay, these two, last two is unsafe, and the compiler will not protect you here. So there is no guarantee that the number not degraded, right? So this is another additional type casting. Okay, another method that are important in programming is array, but basically in object-oriented, we rarely use array in C++. Okay, but I just share it here so that you can relate that you can know what is array and you can relate how to use array in your coding. Okay, array is a collection of one or more objects of same type, and they are stored contiguously in memory. So meaning that you you identify or you determine the number of memory location for a certain variables. Okay, for example, when you define double x in bracket 10, meaning that you allocate 10 memory allocation for x. So meaning x can have 10 values, okay, from 0 to 9 or from 1 to 11, so on and so forth. Right? So this is what they mean. And the second example, integer data, 512, this one is a two-dimensional. Okay, meaning you have 512 row and 512 column. Okay, so mostly in MATLAB they use matrix and array. Okay, so it depends on how your project is. Okay, if there is a lot of data and you want to tabulate the data, then definitely you need to use arrays. So elements of array access using subscripting operator. So this is what we call subscript. Okay, bracket. For example, let's say we define x10 as integer. So meaning x is integer with a 10 value. So the elements of array for x can be x0, x1 until x9. So if you want to access the first element of x, then you have to call x0. If you want to display the last element of x, then you have to call x9. They always start with 0. Okay. If let's say you want to display element of the first element, then you put the element value is 1, meaning that basically what compiler will do, they will access the second element. Right? So this is about arrays. So in C++, array, like I said before, we rarely use arrays because we use standard array, standard array or standard vector type instead of we declare individually like this. Okay. So this is an example of coding. Integer A4, meaning A have 4 values, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the values will put in curly braces. Okay, so meaning that one here is the okay. So I tak boleh nak conteng. Supposed to be okay. Okay, so basically this is element 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So just like the memory layout at the bottom. So if you look here, name A0, the value is 1. Okay. Value 1 and the address is 1000. So how do you know, how we want to know the address? This one is defined by the compiler. So if you want to access the address, then you have to use the ampersand symbol. Okay, then we'll get the address. But this one is depend on the compiler and the platform itself. Okay, maybe when you run the same coding, different platform, different PC, it will be put in different address. Okay, assumption for some completely C++ language version, size of is 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, start at address 1000. So you also can basically you also can define, or you also can determine the initial address value. Okay, then the compiler will follow your instruction. So this is the array. Another method in C++ that you need to know is pointers. Okay, but still again, since we are using class object oriented, so pointers is rarely used. Okay, so pointer is an object whose value is addressed in memory where another object is stored. Okay, so basically what we use a notation and in pointer variables. All basically there is a star or asterisk symbol. Okay, so null pointer is especially pointer value that do not refer to any valid memory location. And if there is null pointer, meaning that there is no location, there's no address, right? And then accessing object to which pointer recall dereferencing. So dereferencing pointer performed by indirection operator. So indirection operator is the asterisk symbol. Okay, so if P is a pointer, okay, so meaning that H3P is object to which pointer refers. Quite confusing kan, agak macam belajar apa ni kan. Okay, but I just need to highlight this. So then maybe you once in a while, maybe when you see a source code and then you see a lot of asterisk symbol, then you know, okay, oh, there's a lot of pointer in the source code. So if X is object of type T and ampersand is the address. So if you want to refer to address of the object, then you use the ampersand symbol. So example, char C. Char pointer CP equal to null PTR, meaning that CP is a pointer to char with a null address. Okay, and then char asterisk CP2 equal to n%C, so meaning that CP2 is a pointer to char by referencing to the address of C. Okay. So this is example of pointer. For example, here normally we declare a variable as a non-pointer. So integer I equivalent to 42. Okay. So this is not a pointer lah. So and then integer asterisk. Once you see there is an asterisk here, so you know, oh, this is a pointer declaration. And then there is a symbol ampersand. So ampersand refers to the address of I. Okay, so I, okay, there is a value in I, maybe 5. Okay, so ampersand meaning that P pointer, in order to get the value, pointer will point to the address. Maybe the address is 1000. Okay, macam kita hantar surat lah, like you post a mail. Okay, so you want to give money to your parents, you post. Okay, send it to your parents through address. The concept is like that. Okay, macam tu konsep dia. And then assumption for some completely fictional C++ language implementation, size of int is 4, so this is some that's assumption. Size of integer pointer is 4, and %i is integer 1000. This one is the address, and then %p is the pointer integer for address 1004. Okay, so we have name I and p, the name of variable, and then the address. Inside the address there is a value. In order to get the value, we refer to the address. We did not refer to the name or the value. Okay, so this is a pointer. Okay, the most commonly we use in programming is control flow. Okay, selection and looping. Looping is repetition. Right? So selection, if else, switch. Repetition, while, do while, for, break, continue, go to. So this is the method in iteration, looping or repetition. So we go through a little bit about all this command. Okay, if statement, so allows conditional execution of code. Syntax has form is expression and then statement. Okay, else statement 2. So if this expression is true, then it will do statement 1. Otherwise, it will ignore this statement 1 and directly go to statement 2. Okay, execute statement 2. So this is the flow of if else. So else clause can be omitted, leading to a simpler form. So if there is no else statement, so you just use if expression and statement. If there is more than one, then you have to use the conditional execution based on more than one condition. Okay, if expression 1, condition number 1, true, then do statement 1. If not, go to condition number 2. If condition number 2 is true, go to statement 2. Until else, statement n. Okay, so to include multiple statement in branch of if, okay, let's say if there is one condition, there's a lot of statement that need to execute, then you have to group the statement in a single by using a brace bracket, okay, curly braces. Okay, if expression true, do statement 1, statement 2, statement 3. Else, do statement 1, 2, 1, statement 2, 2, statement 2, 3. So this is the concept. So advisable to always include brace bracket even when not necessary. So as this avoid potential bugs caused by forgetting to include brackets later, right? So these are the example of else clause in C++. For example, here integer x is some value. If x power product of 2 equals 0, then you print x is even, else print x is odd. So if you look here, we use the standard library and the product. So this one is without else, and this one is more than one condition. Alright. And then switch statement. So this one is allows you to, if your data or your value or your condition is involved with integer value. Okay, not floating point. It's integer value. So you can integer or character. So you can use switch case. Switch expression. So case constant expression 1, do statement 1. Case constant expression 2, the statement 2, and so on and so forth. So expression is integer or character only. Okay. So it's a constant integer expression. For example, 2, you can also use a simple mathematical plus minus multiply for integer value, as well as character char. So its expression equals constant expression, jump to beginning statement. So the way they will compiler will do, they will look at this value, the expression value and then compare to each case. So let's say we take the example. For example, here x, integer x, some value, switch x. So let's say x is 1. So we compare 1 with case 0. So not equal. Then go to case 1. Okay, compare x1 to case 1 is equal. Then they will compiler will print out x is 0 or 1. Then when the compiler find break statement, they will stop and then exit the case statement. Okay, so the break statement is to is a command to instruct the compiler to stop. Okay, checking for the rest of the case. So that was the selection, and then while statement, and the rest is the for repetition, for looping. So you use while looping if you want to, if your project, your application want to check the condition first and then do something, then you use while looping. Okay, or vice versa, you want to check. You want to do something and later you want to check the condition, then you have to use, you can use do while statement. Okay, so same concept with select, and the flow is quite similar with the selection. You have to check the expression. If the expression is true, then execute the statement. All right. Same goes with the multiple statement. Okay. If you have more than one statement, you make sure it must be put inside the brace bracket or curly braces. And then for for statement, okay, looping as a following syntax. This one you use it when you have you already know how many times you want to. You have finite number to repeat the statement or the check the expression. So in for looping, you execute the statement number 1 first. Okay, then while expression is true, execute statement number 3, and then statement number 2 followed. Okay, so basically what happened here is this is the initial value. This is checking whether the initial value is less or greater than the end value. If true, do the statement. Statement 2 is to increase or decrease the value. Okay, based on the condition. Okay, so same thing with the while. So if you have more than one statement to execute, then you have to put in the curly braces. Okay. So consider for loop here. Above for loop can be equivalent expressed in terms of while loop lah. So if you look here for this syntax for loop, for statement 1 expression, statement 2, statement 3 is only 2 lines. But if you convert or transform in from for to the while, you will need to write 4 lines at least. Okay. So we transform. Okay. First we check the statement 1. Okay, we check the initial value. For example, x equal to 0. While expression is x is less than 10, for example, and then do statement 3. Statement 2 is increasing the value of x. So look at the example. Okay, for integer I equal to 0, I less than 10 plus I. So the last statement is the increment statement. You want to increase the value from 0 until it up to the 10. So once let's say I is 10, 10 less than 10 is not true, then stop the repetition. Okay. Same goes with the next example. Alright. So if you look at the next one, integer I equal to 0, I less than 0 plus I. Stop if value is negative. Okay, if value I is less than 0, break, stop. Otherwise, you increase the value until it up to 10. So another, the last example is example with error in assumption about scoping rules. So integer I equal to 0, I less than 0, plus I. set out key out I. So this one error because I is no longer exist. So there are more than one increment statement here. Okay, for the do statement, you do the statement first and then you check the condition later. So this is what I said before, and the comparison, the differences between while and do while. Okay. So this example, and delay by looping 10,000 times. So integer n equal to 0. So you do plus n. You want to looping first, at least once. It must be loop once. Okay, and you repeat once. That is the condition that you need for your program, for example. So if you want to looping or repeat at least once, then you have to use do while. Okay. So example with multiple statement in loop body. So this one, if you have more than one statement, okay, in the body of do while, right? And for break statement, causes and closing loop, or switch to be terminated immediately. So break, stop repetition, stop. Okay, when the compiler find break, then they stop automatically, right? And continue statement causes next iteration of enclosing loop to be started immediately. Okay, so for example here, print the non-zero elements of the array for integer I equal to 0, I less than 0, 10 plus I. So if value I equal to 0, skip and then continue for the next I. Okay, that's the meaning of continue statement. And for go to, so once the compiler find go to in the coding, what happened to the coding? You will go to the you will go to the loop. So you will go back to the first the statement, the loop statement here. Okay, even though I is equal to 3. Okay, once I equal to 3 plus I already 4, then go loop and go back, and then check, repeat again. This is a go-to statement. Rarely used, depends on special method that we will use in object-oriented C++ is function. Okay, function. So if you look at the slide, so there are four functions are listed. So the first and the second function are identical. So if you look here, the first function is will receive floating value because it's a float, rectangular area 1, and then it will receive two arguments or two values, which is L and W. Okay, and then this one is the result. So once the main function, one main function send the value of L and value of Y to the function rectangle area, it will calculate the area and then send back to the main. So this is how the function process. Okay, rectangle area 2. Okay, also similar with the number 1. Okay, so rectangle area 2 use constant. The difference is just use a constant argument, meaning that it can it's a constant value. Okay, so the compiler will not let you modify this value. It cannot change the value. It will receive as it is. So let's say L is 5, so it will receive 5. Okay, the value is 5, so it will receive 5. So try it and comment the line. So let's say there is a const value for L, const value for the value, and then you uncomment the L2.0. The answer, let's say if you see here is 5 and 5. Okay, so supposed to be you get the 5, right? 25 as the answer of area. Even though you uncomment this, it will also give 25, not 10. So this is why they use constant in the coding. Pass the argument by reference. So the difference here, so this one is we pass the address. Okay, reference is the address of L. So we pass the address, then we get the value. Same goes with the fourth one. So this one is basically the passing by reference. The number one, number two is passing by value. So let's say we continue with the code blocks and debuggers. To show how this works, we will use the CB interactive debugger to step through the program line by line, follow the function calls. So make sure you are running in debug mode. So this turn off compiler optimization has the compiler include function in the compile code for effective debugging. Okay. So basically, okay, so this one is still on debug lah. But if there is no error, okay, for debugging, so let's say you let me open my file. Okay, so this is the coding. Okay, so in debugging, when you double click at the left of your coding, okay, eye of the code, so you will go, you put a mark, a dot mark here, so meaning that you will debug until you start until at every mark lah. Okay, so in main CB, double click to the left of the line in the function to set a pair of breakdown. So a red dot will appear. So click on the arrow to start the code in the debug. So this one icon that you need to click for debugging. Okay. So if there is no error, so you will straight away produce the output lah. Okay, so the same. Okay, the same thing happen as you build on and run the process. Okay, so debugger will pass every in first function and the breadcrumb. So if there is error, it will pause right? Otherwise, we straight away produce the output. Okay, so this is the if you want to go look into detail about the debugging in CB code blocks, so you can choose and you go to the build, you go to debug, okay, you go to debug, and then you can look all at the debugging. Maybe you want to look at CPU register, you want to look at the call stack, okay, watcher. So if you want to look at all the criteria, so you can go to the for example, here is call stack, so you can see what is the problem, so you can see the debug process. Okay, another maybe you want to look at the watches, so you can look at the watches as well. Okay, so you come up with this debug features will provide all the information. Okay. So this is what I mean by passing by value, pass by value. Okay. So basically C++ defaults to pass by value behavior when calling a function. Okay. So for example here, float L, we pass value of L to rectangle area function. Okay. Same goes with W value. So we pass the value, we're not passing the address. So changing the value of L and W in rectangle area function does not affect in their original value in main function. Let's say for example, when you send 5, you send 5 as L and W, 5 go to the rectangle area for L and another 5 for value of 5 L to W. So let's say you change it after that in rectangular area. So you change the value from 5, you change it to 2, for example. So it will not affect this. It will not affect the value in main. So when passing object as function argument, it's important to be aware that potentially large data structure are automatically copied. Okay. And then passing by reference, so meaning that if you look here, rectangle area constants float %L, constant float %W. So when the compiler find % symbol, meaning that you want to get the value from the address. Okay, address of L and then address of W. So when you change the value here, it will change the value in main. So pass by reference behavior is triggered when the % character is used to modify the type of the argument. So pass by reference function arguments are not copied. Instead, the compiler sends a pointer to the function that references the memory location of the original variable. Okay, pass by reference arguments almost always act just like a pass by value argument when writing code, except that changing their value changes the value of the original variable. So that is the difference between pass by reference and pass by value. Okay, so void does not return a value, like I said. In rectangle area 4, the pass by reference behavior is used as a way to return the results without the function returning a value. Okay, so this can be useful way of for function to return multiple values in the calling routine. So in C++, argument to function can be objects which can contain any quantity of data you've defined. For example, consider a string variable containing 1 million characters, approximately 1 megabyte of RAM. So pass by value requires a copy of 1 megabyte, same size. Okay, but pass by reference you just give the address, which is around 8 bytes. So you saving a lot of memory, okay, location by using pass by reference. So this is the advantage. Maybe you wonder which one is better, pass by value or pass by reference. Even though if you look at the description, pass by value is more straightforward compared with pass by reference, right? So so that is the disadvantage of pass by value. So if you using passing by reference, so basically you will using with a constant modifier. So in order to protect your data from any change value, right? So this is the first C++ class by using code block. You can start a new project in CB or just modify the hello world code. Okay. So in the main CPP, we define a class called basic rectangle. Okay, let's see. I close this one. Close this project. Okay. So this is the hello world. So you change it. You normally we put our class object at the top. Before the main function. It's much more easier. You don't need to declare the function prototype. Okay, so you just write your first user-defined object, or object classes. So let's see rectangle. Okay, so public. Public means when you declare public means that the data of the variable can be called by any function. Okay? Any function. Okay. So here we call the basic rectangle. When you type BAS, it's already the code blocks already suggested basic rectangle. Okay, maybe you can click basic rectangle or you can tap it. Okay, tap basic rectangle, and then you declare a new variable. So you declare basic rectangle, a rectangle as a basic rectangle class. Okay, so this is what I mean. Okay, you declare rectangle variable as a basic rectangle class. So what you have to do once you already declare rectangle as the class for basic rectangle, so what you have to do is just write the new variable. Okay, rectangle. See, because here rectangle is a class of basic rectangle. So tab, then when you type dot, so you have to attribute or data, whether L or W. Okay, so let's say you choose W, okay, or you choose L. 0. Then the next one, W. 0. Okay, and then return 0. So this is the first class. This is the class object declaration. So you already declare a basic rectangle as a class with two data or two attribute, which is width and length. Okay, at the moment there is no methods or function for the basic rectangle. Okay, it's just only an attributes, only the attributes of rectangle. Okay. So this is the explanation. So this is the class keyword. Okay, class keyword, name of the class, and then curly braces is the beginning and end of your class body. And then public keyword indicates everything knowing the keyword is accessible. So meaning that other than basic rectangle class, maybe you will want to advance or square, basic square. You want to use the same value of W and L, so you can use the same variable because W and L is the public declaration of variable. Okay, and then this one in internal variables are called members. So these are the members, which are the data for basic rectangle, and then the class can now be used to declare as object name rectangle. So you have class, so rectangle is the object of class. This is OOP, okay, object oriented. So rectangle, and then object can call the members of class. So that's why when we type rectangle dot, they automatically call the class members W and L. So this is how the OOP works, the class and object works in C++. Okay. And then accessing data in this class. Okay, so if you want to access the data in the class, so public members and object can be accessed for reading or writing with the syntax object.member. Object.member. So, but before you can use object.member, you have to declare object as a class first. Okay, so next, let's add a function inside the object called a method. Okay, now we already have a class, have members. Now we add the third element in object-oriented, which is method or function to calculate the area. Okay, so we add to the code here, float, okay, float area. This one is a function. Okay, return W multiply with L. Okay. So this is the method, okay, the function to calculate. So there's always an operation inside a function or a method. Okay. So now in main function, in order to display the output, so we use the cout standard operator. Okay, and then you type rectangle, okay, rectangle dot c. The new one is area. Okay, this one is the method already inside the compiler allocation. So class memory. So area, and then you call the area inside the class basic rectangle. Okay, then this one is similar. And so method are accessed just like members, and object.methods argument. So in this case, there is no argument here, and because there is no, it's empty. And inside the bracket, inside the bracket is empty. So meaning area will not receive any data. Okay, there is no data required by area. So because the value and L already declared inside public. Okay, otherwise you area is you make it area as another class, so it will be a different coding. Okay, so basic C++ summary. So C++ classes are defined with the keyword class and must be enclosed in a pair of curly braces plus a semicolon. So class name, and then the curly braces and semicolon. So let's say maybe I forget to run this one. So let's say we run this. Okay, so other classes. Okay. And the connection of data and the function that operates on it is the OP concept of encapsulation. Okay, so this is encapsulation in action. So if you look at, I show you the differences between in C and in C++. So normally in C, we calculate the area with a few shapes we share. Let's say for example here, float A1 equal to area of circles radius. Okay, it's okay. Float area 2, area of square, the data, the variables is with square. This one is also okay, but then we declare another variables A3 as area of circle, but we want to use the same value with square ni. So this one is not okay. Okay, because we did not because with square is not a member of class. It's private to the A2 here. Okay, So in C++, with circle and rectangle classes, not possible to miscalculate, and then C1 and R1 as the classes, circle C1, rectangle R1. So C1 and R1 is the object for class circle and rectangle. Then we can share the encapsulate. Okay, we combine all the same data in one group, in one class. Okay. Okay, now for a real class. So defining a class in the main.cpp file is not typical. So basically, this is how I will share. Basically, this is the part of advanced, a little bit advanced, but I will share with you. You can create your own header file, or meaning that you can create your own library. Okay, so two parts to a C++ class is header file and source file. Okay, so header file contains the interface or definition of the class, members, method. You can put it inside header file. And the interface is used by compiler for type checking and processing access to private or protected data and so on. So also useful for programmers when using a class. So you can shorten by using header, by creating header file or your own library. You can shorten the main file, main.cpp file. Okay, the source file. So how do you want to create the header file in code blocks? Okay, so using the code blocks here, okay, especially convenient in C++ to keep details straight when defining a class. So typically header and source file are needed. So some default methods are created to save you some typing. So what we have to do, create another project in C and D, call it shape. Okay. Okay, so new project shape. Okay, let's say same thing, console application, go. Okay, name it as shape. Okay, compiler is GNU GCC compiler, and so then you have a shape workspace, okay, at the left of your code blocks. Right, so what I have to do, once you already have it, go to file, okay, file, new class. Okay, go to file, new class, click class. So then they will open a wizard, GUI that helps get things started lah. Right, so this will create the header and source file for you. So what you have to do, you have to name the class. So in this case, you have to name it rectangle. Okay. So, and then make sure is your add documentation were appropriate. This one is unchecked, make sure it's unchecked. And then after that, you click create. Okay, so if you can see inside the wizard window, so when you create your class name rectangle, the code blocks automatically will name your header file is rectangle.h, okay, and the source file is rectangle.cpp, and as well as include the header file rectangle.h in the main file. So here already automatically setting by the code blocks. Okay, and then you click create. Okay, so you ask you, the new class has been created. Do you want to add in the current project? Then yes. Okay, select debug and release. Okay, so automatically you have, you look at your your code blocks. Okay, at the next of main.cpp tabs, you have rectangle.h and rectangle.cpp. Okay, so these two files are automatically generated by the code blocks. So what you have to do, you modify rectangle.h, for example. Okay, let's say we modify the header file. So this is how we create the header file. Okay, as the same of basic rectangle, add storage for the length and width to the header file and add a declaration for the array method. Okay, so just declare the variable and length, okay, float and width and float area function, okay, area methods. So the rest is just leave it as it is. Okay, so the protected keyword here will be discussed later lah, dan tak ada, bukan hari ni lah kot. Kalau nak tanya kemudian lah. If you want to ask about protected and private, maybe you can ask me later on after the workshop. Okay, and the private keywords declare anything following its members and methods to be visible only to code in this class. Meaning that if you declare a public variable, so that variable can be only used by class rectangle, not other class. It cannot be shared with other classes. Okay, so once you already have modified the rectangle.h, then so we now contain the code for area method. So the area method use the CB event to help you out there. So open rectangle.cpp. Okay, click on rectangle.cpp, and then this one header. Good. Okay. Right click and choose insert all class method without implementation. Okay. Other sources. Okay. Rectangle.cpp, right click. Or maybe you can choose insert all. Insert all. Okay. Okay, make sure you all insert all the I rasa dah ada dah ni, tak jumpa. Ada semua. Okay, so then you modify your rectangle.cpp. So the way you modify rectangle.cpp, you just go to the rectangle.cpp here, and what you have to do is you just add your float rectangle. Okay, see? Rectangle. Fill in the coding. So basically what you will do, you will something, the coding is something like the basic rectangle coding, okay, that we have discussed. So you may have noticed you trying to help you entering the code for area, all right, and then we can write return, okay, and this multiply with So this is the coding for the area, but it inside the CPP file. Okay, so last step, go to the main CPP file, add the include statement for rectangle.h. Okay, and then create a rectangle object in the main and add length and width, print out the area using cout. So basically what you have, your coding will be something like this. Okay, include IO stream and using space include rectangle.h. So instead of you create your class inside the main CPP, okay, as type you just include the rectangle, the header file. But make sure it must be same with this the file name. If you look here, is R small letter, it will not detect. It will be error. Okay, must be same. That's why I said C++ is sensitive. So this is how the way you include, but the same. And then inside the main coding, you have to change it as well. Okay, change it as well. So let's say you rectangle RT. So RT dot M. Yeah. So this is how we create the we create our own library, or we create our own header file, and we include it inside the main the source file. Okay, so that was the idea. Hopefully you get the idea, the concept, and the essence of using code blocks. Okay, to write your your classes object, your object oriented programming, or create your own your object classes. All right. For 4:43 p.m. Okay. Any questions before I move on to the sharing my last part RNI project, or you want to ask later? Okay, so so I think everyone is trying to process and digest what I have presented right now. So this is the best way I think I can provide you with the C++ experience and knowledge. Okay, now we take a look at the project. Okay, this is some of my project. All of my project, not some of my project. All of my project, which some of them we develop it and we doing it with my students and even my FYP student, my master and my PhD student. So, and it's related to C++, but it's not developed developed as a whole by using C++. It's a combination of C++ with others language. For example, with MATLAB, with Arduino. Okay, so I will show you. This is what you can do. This is what you can produce. Okay, if you know programming language, whether it's C++ or any other language. So mostly of my project is involved with hardware and software. Okay, and as you know, my research interest is on underwater robotics, AI, machine AI, image processing, speech processing. Okay, so we start with the latest one. Okay, so this is the latest project with my master student Ilani Yusra, and Alhamdulillah, we just received a very amazing news yesterday, which our paper has been awarded as the best paper award for the conference, for the international conference of man-machine system. So this project is a bio-inspired triangular underwater robots. We call it as a Stingray for aquaculture, biofouling cleaning. So it's still under development, okay, but we right now focusing on the control method, bio-inspired control method for this triangular underwater robots. So it's a multi-agent robot. Okay, consists of not too many hardware. We have rudder, and then 2 thrusters, and then we have the cleaning mechanism at the bottom to clean aquaculture fish tank. Okay, so all these actuators, sensors, and motors, and the microcontroller must be programmed. Okay, so we are using a combination of ARM microcontroller and C++. Even ARM is the IDE or the IDE to program the ARM is based on C++. Okay, and this one is we do some what we call it fluid dynamics analysis. We look at how the water flows throughout go through the underwater robots, the Stingray. So we do some analysis here, okay, in terms of the friction of the viscosity, and so on and so forth. So this one is the design, the 3D design model is was designed by using SolidWorks, and then we use the CDF simulation to simulate. So this is a part of this is the latest one. Okay, still not completed, and then this is another project. It's ongoing. It's already on phase 3. Okay, it's prototype number 3. Okay, prototype number, starting with a simple prototype, a very low cost prototype, and then we upgrade it into the second prototype, and now it's at the third prototype. So this is the latest one, the latest prototype of autonomous underwater vehicle for water quality measurement. Okay, again, it involves a lot of components. There is a data logger, so all the data from the initial measurement unit, IMU, the data from compass, the Arduino microcontroller, okay, and then from the depth sensor, PS sensor. So everything is logged into the data logger. Okay, in order to program the Arduino, since there is a lot of sensors, and we need to control the we need a high level language to control the AUV. So we combine it the coding with Arduino. Okay, C++ and Arduino. So this one also have some awards. Okay, recently is a Google award in IEM 2021. Okay, the latest version, the latest prototype has won gold awards in IEM, and the second prototype has won gold in NICE innovation. Okay, so see, my project is involved with, if you look at Nur Shafika is my FYP student last semester, already graduated and work. And then Inani Isra is the same student that currently working on his master's project, okay, the bio-inspired triangular autonomous robot. Right, so you can do anything actually. You can do it once you know how to operate, how to program hardware, and then how to integrate certain kind of different kind of language. Okay, you can do anything actually. And this one another project. Still, it's already evolved from prototype 1 to prototype 2. Okay, starting from my FYP student here. So this is water surface platform for environmental monitoring system. Okay, this is my FYP student project. Starting by using Arduino, at first by using ARM, but then he surrendered because ARM is not as easy as Arduino. So he wanted to, he asked me whether he want to change to Arduino. I think it's okay, just proceed. So we change it to Arduino, and then it only has temperature, humidity, pH, carbon monoxide sensor, and GSM. So this platform can send a message regarding the value of temperature, humidity, pH, and carbon monoxide. And it's also log all the data inside the data logger. Okay, so starting with Arduino, but then take up by my master student already graduated 2019. Okay, my take up by master student develop the prototype version 2.0 and combine it with IoT. Okay, Internet of Things. So using ARM, embed microcontroller, which is based on C++, and she add more component, which is GPS, in order to detect the location of the surface platform, and then send the data. Instead, data is logged into there is a data logger built in the platform, and the data also can be sent to the ThinkSpeed. Okay, you can monitor through ThinkSpeed, and there's an additional sensor, which is depth and water level. And then this one, this project won Innovation Award, Gold and Green Technology Award in Citrix 2020. Okay, and another version, prototype, I call it a prototype version 1.5 because it's upgraded from the version 1.0, but the element of upgrading is a solar panel. Okay, there is a solar panel because one of the problem with this surface platform is in terms of energy consumption, because the duration of battery is not quite enough to make sure that the surface platform can operate many days. So we use solar panel. My FYP student upgrade this add solar panel, add turbidity sensor, and then add thruster, water pump, in order to make sure that the service platform can move freely. Okay, currently there is a static platform. Now it becomes a dynamics, but there is no IoT, and then there is no depth and water level. Okay, and I'm waiting for next generation FYP student to continue this platform to upgrade and maybe make it more multi-agent and so on and so forth. And I'm not sure. That depends on student itself. Okay. So, and then this one is this is the first prototype of underwater vehicle that what we designed previously. Okay, so this is the first prototype. It's very bulky, and we send this prototype for underwater vehicle competition. Okay, underwater vehicle competition. It's a group effort basically. Okay, with Dr. Razi and Dr. Hedawati from FKE, and then there is a group of students, 5 students actually. But for my student, FIP student, he focus on target acquisition using vision and acoustic sensor. So every student that involved with this project have different kind of scopes and tasks. Okay, so for this project, under my with my student Alexander, so Alexander has produced a paper, and I submit the paper to international conference, and I present it in Wuhan, China. Okay, this one is pre-COVID, pre-COVID, Wuhan, China, and it was awarded as a best paper awards in that conference. So it I'm grateful with the awards here. Okay, so this is in Yusra also involved with this project as a FIP1 student. So again, involved with C++ in terms of in order to program all the sensors, and then the microcontrollers, the motors, the thrusters, and so on and so forth. So a lot of things, a lot of components. All right. And then this is the most complex one. This is my PhD project. Okay, I'm developed homeostatic inspired controller algorithm for hybrid driven autonomous underwater glider. For the complexity is very, very high, very challenging for me. But alhamdulillah, I'm able to complete my PhD on time. Okay, there's a lot of things, but I divided the project into smaller chunks. In order to create the homeostatic inspired controller algorithm by using C++ and MATLAB. Okay, C++ and MATLAB is combination of C++ and MATLAB, because there is toolbox in MATLAB that I need to use in the program, so I have to integrate the coding. Okay, as well as in order to control and communicate with all the actuators and the sensors. So this is 1.5 meter long, and it's heavy. It's 50 kg. Okay, and I have to test it in the pool. So in USM pool, the glider move basically in the underwater glider move like a zigzag pattern. Okay, it move down and then it move upward and then move downwards and then upward again. So it's move just like a wave. Okay, so in order to complete this project, there is no platform in USM, so I have to design the platform. Okay, in order to design the platform, I think there's the last phase. Okay, I just need to design first and then make it a basic structure. The most important thing is the controller algorithm itself, since it's involved with high level controller, bio-inspired. I need a complex platform, okay, in order to make sure that the controller can cope with the platform. It cannot meet. I cannot create a very complex controller for simple platform. So it must fit each other lah. Okay, like a curve. Okay, so what I did, first, in order to create the controller algorithm, I have to need sorry, saya punya saya nak balik. Okay, so what again the project. So before I can design the controller algorithm, I need to have the model, mathematical model. So what I did, I designed the mathematical model of the mathematical structure and the equation of motion and so on and so forth. Then from there I can create the controller. Okay, without the mathematical model, I cannot create the controller, and then without the platform, I cannot test it. I cannot test and validate the controller algorithm. So there is three major parts lah: modeling, mathematical modeling, and then controller design, and then the platform development. So I have to divide and conquer during my PhD. So I enjoy my PhD life is very for me it's fun and enjoy. I tested the glider in this swimming pool every week, and then I've tested the glider in the open water, open ocean nearby Bidung Island, Terengganu. Okay, so it's a sweet memory for me. Okay, and then it's also there's a conference paper I sent the results from this project and awarded as a best paper award. Okay, 2014. So, and this is the another one. I think is a good has produced a good impact to the research community in the world. So it's a vision-based autonomous vehicle. This is my master's project. Okay, in UPM, I'm developed a vision-based autonomous vehicle. This was 2004. Okay, completed my master's 2004 and graduated 2005. So the algorithm has been used by General Motors and Volvo. So it was back in 2004. So around 70 years back. Sebelum teknologi sekarang ada, projek ni dah buat lah. Saya buat lah benda ni. So I'm using C++ and MATLAB toolbox. Okay, so involve a lot of data. You want to detect the lane of in highway in regular roads, so on and so forth. But and then what I did, I have to set up the test bed in my car, to capture the data and then process and then get the output. So we're using the image processing techniques For example, the candy age detection as well as the heat transform methods in order to detect the possible line. Okay, so from this we can detect the line in good condition, in shadowy condition, and then in light condition. But the light condition is not quite good, but still can detect the line of highway and road. So it just not produce the detected line, but it also produce the simulation and the results of vehicle, for example, velocity, acceleration, the trajectory, roll angle, yaw angle, side slip angle, and then we also look at the brake forces, the forces in each wheel, okay, the normal forces and the lateral forces. So this is one of, and then I presented the results in Turkey and Greece during my master's. There's a lot of projects basically other than this one. Some of them using Python, some of them using MATLAB as a programming. Some of them using C++, some of them using Java. So there's a lot of things, but I'm just focusing on what I have done that related to C++. Okay, and luckily I have a good student from FYP and master and PhD as well, and then they are very and most of the students, my FYP student, they got FYP A plus okay, for the FYP 2. I push them, so tahan je lah siapa yang jadi saya punya student FYP. So but the benefit is for the student lah. Basically belum habis belajar dah dapat kerja dan sebagainya. So you have to treat your project, your FYP project as your life lah. Okay, because your FYP is a accumulation of your skill that you learn 4 years in UTHM. Okay, so last but not least, for those who want to know about C language, so this is our latest book, me, Madam Zarina Tukira and Dr. Samsul. So we have published a book, bahasa C pengajaran in Malay. So this one is a Series 1 basic, beginner basic, and then currently we're working on the intermediate and the advanced. But this one is focused on C. So you can go to ecentral.com, you can buy if you want, okay, and you can try to learn. And there is every method there is an example, and it's really related to engineering kind of example. Okay, so I think that's all. Thank you. Do you have any questions that you want to ask me? 29.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid, for the sharing session. I hope that all participants enjoy this amazing workshop. Now, it is time for the Q&A session with our speaker. Dear participants, please feel free to write down your question into the chat box as we will be answering them as soon as possible. Participants can unmute your mic to ask the question.
Okay, you can on your mic. Nak on mic boleh, nak tulis kat chat boleh, nak cakap bahasa Melayu boleh, cakap bahasa Inggeris boleh. Jangan cakap Mandarin lah. Mandarin saya tak faham sangat. Saya faham sikit-sikit je. Okay, walaupun muka macam Chinese kan.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Ya, Zalif.
My name is Muhammad Zarif bin Muhammad Rafian. I'm from a third year student from BEV, FTE. So my question is like, if you have a robot and it is submerged under the water, so how come that the robot will receive a GPS information?
The robot must move to the surface, then you can communicate with the GPS satellite.
Oh, but if you want to communicate with the robot, if it's submerged under the water, boleh sampai?
No, tak boleh. GPS ini cannot penetrate water.
Kan, sebab the radio wave kan?
Yeah, so kena naik ke surface and then baru kita boleh hantar data.
So how did you program the robot just like kita?
So basically it's
submerged.
Okay, submerged. So it depends on the data from compass, IMU, echo sensor. So there is a lot of sensor to control the movement.
So dia akan tahu depth dia berapa and then dia naik balik lah tu. Dia macam ada some sort of algorithm lah.
Definitely you have to kena create a design algorithm.
I see. Saya kena this is too interesting.
Memang kena ada algorithm.
Macam awal tadi pun je.
Wish, Alia punya perbincangan tu pun hebat juga, Doktor.
Jadi benda kompleks, kalau you tak design algorithm, macam mana nak buat program? So sebenarnya basically when you want to create your computer programs, you have to design the algorithm first. So algorithm can be represented using flowchart or pseudocode. So algorithm in easier language is mean that you create the steps lah. Okay, what is the start with what, and then follow what, and then what is the next steps. So that is algorithm. Okay, and then you have to know what is the condition statement, what is the threshold value of certain sensor, and so on and so forth lah, in order to make sure that your robots or whatever you want to develop is run smoothly. Macam tu.
I see. Faham, Doktor. Thank you. This is my first exposure actually with the orang kata apa submerge punya apa water surface berkaitan dengan air yang robotik lah. Memang saya sangat-sangat berminat lah. Thank you, Doktor, for the sharing.
No problem. My pleasure. The challenge with underwater is leakage problem lah. Okay. So as you know, bila you melibatkan electronic parts kan, electronic components, okay, it's very the components is very vulnerable lah kan, sangat mudah rosak, especially kalau tiba-tiba masuk air lagi lah. Saya punya projek tu banyak lah alat yang rosak kan, bila water penetrate into the compartment. Okay, dalam air ni the pressure is very important lah. We need to be careful with the water pressure dan juga leakage. Ada satu lubang kecil pun dia akan masuk air. Okay, and then dia punya electric components orang kena air habis lah. Saya pengalaman setting on air sebelum masuk kolam ke masuk dalam air tu, kita setting, kita testing. Okay, semua berjalan, semua elok je. Dan lepas tu angkat lah benda tu 50 kg kan, angkat letak dalam air, on kan tak jalan, kena angkat balik naik ke atas, buka balik situ. That is the challenge lah. So if you want to pursue your study in master and PhD, you have to be resilient. That is the key word with your project, as well as resilience with your supervisor. FYP pun nak kena tahan lah sikit dengan supervisor, tengoklah supervisor you macam mana. Okay, any else? Anything anyone want to ask? Any other questions? Maybe anything else?
Doctor, another question from the participant. He asked, both array are least and lists are used to store data as data structure. So what is the difference between an array and a list?
A list is in order to provide a list, you have to use array. Array is a method to create a list. Okay, so in data structure, when you want to create lists or you want to sort data, so the core, the backbone of the coding is array. So array is a method used in as a listing method in data structure. Itu je. That is the definition of array and listing. It works together. Okay, same thing as sorting. Okay, sorting pun you kena guna array. So that's why the fundamental here is the fundamental techniques that you need to know. Array, functions, pointers, control flow or control statement, and then what else? The file processing. File processing is very important for engineer student. For example, if you want to store a data in a file, txt text file or CVS or any other kind of format of filing. So you need to know how to get the data and save it in the file, or read the data from a file and operate in the main coding. So filing is one of the crucial thing in coding for engineering student. Tunjukkan kan, sebab filing is a advanced coding method lah. So okay, so I think that is my answer for array and listing. Questions?
I think that the last question from the participant. Thank you very much to Dr. Khalid for answering and clearing all our doubts. Also, thank you to all the participants for the question. It is our great pleasure to have you here today with us. Now, we have almost come to the end for today's event. I would like to invite all participants to join together and turn on your camera for a photo session with our speaker. Multimedia team, please help us to conduct this photo session.
So, hello everyone. So, I'm from the multimedia team and we'll be taking over for this photo taking session. So, I'll be counting down to 3 before taking the photo. So, please feel free to turn on your camera for this session. So, 1, 2, 3. So, one more time. 1, 2, 3. So thank you for the cooperation. So I'll leave it to the MC now.
Thank you, multimedia team. As a reminder to all participants, before you leave, please scan the QR code to fill up the attendance form. The link to the attendance form is also provided in the chat box. The attendance form is to ensure that you get your SMAP and a certificate. All participants are given 1 minute to fill up the form. Please be alert that the attendance form will be closed for submission at 5:45 p.m. Participants are informed that any request received later than 5:45 p.m. will not be entertained. IEM-UTHM apologize for any inconvenience caused.
Okay, thank you IEM, SS, or the committee, especially to Linting. Thank you very much. I'm really sorry if there is any inconvenience during my sharing. Hopefully we will meet again, maybe in other occasion. So take care and have a nice weekend. Bye.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid.
Okay.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor.
has come to the end of the workshop. Once again, thank you to Dr. Khalid and everyone for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend this workshop. Before we end today's session, please follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Telegram by scanning the QR code. See you on the upcoming event. Goodbye and thank you.
Thank you.